streaming service on my computer.
Good. That's good. I just need it to be showing on Face. Here we are. We are on
Streaming.
Facebook. This is good. Good news. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to play the music again, which sounded great. Oops. Let's start from the beginning.
Can't lose that drum intro, right?
Some peace, you miss the noise. You find your chance, you crash your car. You lose your way and find your heart. You reach your goal and it's your end. You lose your life when life begins. You make it back, but you're not home. Where is that peace you've known? Day and night, day and night. In this life.
Great arrangement too.
Yeah, Alan Pasqua.
Sounds great.
The streets go up in fire and smoke. You try to shake your misery. The cure is worse than the disease. You book your flight, you cancel twice. You long for beans and rice. Day and night, day and night. In the circus life, in the circus life. All right, in the circus life. Am I boring you again? If you're not interested, pretend. Don't make me beg you for a smile. I feel like I'm in Kafka's trial. Is there something you can't say? You can't always get your way. You're like the poet on his box. Am I your protege? Day and night, day and night. In the circus life, fight or flight, fight or flight. In the circus life, day and night, in the circus life, loose or tight, in the circus life.
Oh, sounds so good. You always have the best musicians, and you have such great taste. Who? First of all, hello, Judy Wexler.
Hello, Cathy.
Judy Wexler is my longtime friend, and yeah, we've seen so much of the music community involvement over the years together, and been involved with lots of different things. And yeah, one thing I always admire about Judy is that she has excellent taste in musicians, music, singing, songs. She's known as a very the word just left my brain. It was such a I'll have to put in simple words. Excellent chooser of material. And so, speaking of that, Judy,
Yes.
tell us.
Thank you for having me on. It's always good to see you. Not in my backyard this time.
But that was fun. Tell us about that song.
Well, that is Circus Life by Luciana Sosa and Larry Klein and David Bateau. And I think Luciana recorded, so she and Larry and David Bateau wrote it, and she had it on her Tide album, which I don't know when that was, but it feels like a long time ago. So I was looking when I was doing the Proud at Heart, my CD from last year, it took me a year to find all these tunes, but my goal was to find songs that sounded like standards, but that were modern and that were written, in the last 10 years or so versus 70 or 80 years ago. So that was my goal, and it took a long time. That was the first song I chose, I think, the first or second song. And I love Alan Pasqua's arrangement, and I love his little whistling feature.
Yeah, that's beautiful. David Bateau and I were friends. Oh my God, I think it was before I was married to Gus.
Oh my God.
The late.
So is he an LA person?
He was.
Oh.
I don't know. I'm not sure what he's doing now. You know who actually was part of that crew was David Ross. Because David at the time played guitar. And Gene Strimling, the drummer, I was dating him, and then he knew David Bateau, and we formed a little band actually, but then somehow it fell apart. But what an outstanding writer David Bateau is.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with any of his other songs, so I should check that out.
Yeah, he's been great. I don't know if he's still around here. But anyway, and then you add Larry Klein and Luciana in. You're not going to get a bad song, right?
Yeah, and I love the lyrics too, because, it's just all about the rat race.
Yeah.
I guess most of us have been taken off that wheel with the pandemic. But before the pandemic, and especially living in a big city, you really do, regardless of what your work life is, there's still a feeling of a rat race, getting into the car and, getting stuck in traffic and being late for everything, and, on and on. We probably miss that now.
Yeah. I think the words still apply right now. Of course, we won't go deeply into politics, but we can mention it in passing. But that's kind of the big thing that we're looking at right now, rather than, as you say, getting in the car and rushing to go someplace and, getting trapped into that. But I think it's a really timely song. I think it's great. It's a great song.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. You sound so good on it.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. It's really good. Really good. It's interesting when you, as a singer, right? When you listen to other singers and you tap into their perspective. through their production of the song, right? And I just find it fascinating because people, it's not like, and I've seen 100 teachers, or not 100, hundreds of teachers in my workshop series, but I don't think it's possible to teach someone a certain way over and over and over again, like this one way to be expressive. It's really about each individual, and I just find it really fascinating.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree because, I've been doing a little coaching lately with Kate McGarry, in working on my new project. And it's interesting. I'll hear her sing something and then, just looking at phrases, and it's like, wow, even me trying to imitate that just in like a 3-note thing, it's like it doesn't come out that way. It comes out my way. So yes, it's like you're the filter, and it's got to be you and all of your qualities. It's got to come out, and so it's going to be different no matter what, I think.
Yeah, it's a demanding challenge, actually, right? As the singer, it really is, and it never goes away. It's always a challenge because you're always growing, and there's always something new to deliver, and also consciousness is always, you have to work on consciousness all the time, right?
Yes.
Yes. Hold on one second. So yeah, actually I was thinking of that because I'm doing a live stream with Tamir later today, and yesterday we got together and we haven't played together in so long. And I really, more than anything, I want me singing to be me, right now.
That is the goal. That is always the goal.
Yeah. And no matter, even if I was thinking about this, and for you, this is really true. You have these great arrangements. So even if you have these great arrangements, they're like the form. And then within the form, you want to always be in the moment too, right? Present. And
absolutely. And as you said, it's the word authentic always comes to me because, there's some challenges I've been having lately, and it's interesting because what my criteria is, am I being authentic?
Yeah.
It's not like, wow, does that note sound good or whatever. It's just like the overarching feeling of, does this sound authentic? And I think as singers, we have what instrumentalists don't have, which are words. And so the goal, I think, number one should always be, regardless of your talents and your gifts and your creativity and all that, is what you're saying believable?
Yeah.
Do we believe you? Just like watching a movie. If I see a movie on TV that I think there's not good acting, I will just change a channel because it's not worth my time to watch it. I just can't hang with that.
Yeah.
So I think it's the same with singing. Is it believable? Do I believe what you're telling me? So and it's challenging sometimes. It seems obvious, but
but when you're in it, it seems a little overwhelming.
Yeah, and even the process, like recording, even the process of recording something, I could go through a whole recording, a song and finish it and then listen to it and go, oh, no, I don't believe it. Yeah. or it feels too sad. The emotional tone is wrong for what that song is. So then I have to do it again. So I
was just going to ask you about that too, because you've done a lot of recording. So, you just basically said what I was going to ask about, bringing this level of, which I think in recording, I don't know, recording is almost harder, right, than the live.
Oh yeah.
Live
It's
is,
because it's so specific and it's so permanent.
yeah,
And you were the one who told me many, many, many years ago, even when I was first starting, recording, started working on my first thing in 2004. So that was 16 years ago. But, you definitely, I remember you stressing, you have to be happy with it because, well, first you would say it's this moment in time that we're capturing. So this is the now. This is where you are right now with this. And obviously it's going to change as you mature and the world changes and your point of view changes, but also it's permanent. That's out there, whether you like it or not. There's some things, most things I'm happy with, but there's some things I go, ugh, that's like the worst track of everything I've ever done, so it's not, not all my children are beloved.
yeah, me too. Actually, recently I went in and I repaired one song that it's on a record, but I was never quite satisfied with it, and I went
So
back.
what did you do with it after did you put
I
it?
haven't done anything because it's just been
Oh.
very recent. I did it like 3 weeks ago.
Oh,
Something we may never know with Vardan,
oh,
that
yeah. Uh-huh.
I just never was happy with my singing on it, the phrasing, so I went in and repaired it.
That's
And
so interesting that you did it without,
I
that
know.
it was only for you.
Kind of. I mean, my plan is to put it out on any kind of social media thing that it's on, kind of replace it and whatever I have to do. But, I mean, for people who have the CD, they're going to have it forever. But, for new, since, since this is such a weird CD time, people aren't really buying, the CD so much, very little. So they're going to be downloading it. So now it'll be the way that I want it.
But, okay. Well, I'll be interested to hear how you make that happen.
Me too. We have a lot of comments. So hello, Georgia Mancio is here.
Hi, Georgia. I want to meet you in person one day.
Oh,
We have to come to Los Angeles.
yeah, I had her on last week. And she and I haven't seen each other in many years, like 7 years or something like that. Steve Taylor says hi.
Hi, Steve.
Corey Allen is here.
Hello, Corey.
Mary Bogue,
Hi,
Roland,
Karen.
Bryce Glasgow, yeah, Karen McCants, and Natalie Jacob, and Mon.
Hi, Mon.
He said, "Love your painted on canvas."
Oh, thank you.
So, and Georgia says, "Me too, Judy. Really hope we can make that happen one day."
We will.
She's
for
such
sure.
a great lyricist, isn't she?
Yes, she's amazing. She's
Wow.
out, and she has a new CD coming out too. I just found out, I think, the other day with Alan Broadbent, another continuation of her songbook. And this is a nice segue for me to say that I recorded their song
Yeah.
from her first songbook, and that was. I think maybe that was the first song I chose. The Last Goodbye. Amazing, amazing song, both lyrically and compositionally.
Yeah.
If that's a word. Probably not. But it's just what a story it tells. And the lyrics are absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
It's a very sad song. So,
Yeah. Well, speaking to Georgia, I keep saying Georgia. Speaking to her actually was really nice. Anybody who didn't see that particular Noontime show, I suggest going to look at it because
I'll have to look at it.
It was a really great show. The way she speaks is really clear and creative and clear about everything she's talking about. I told her she should write a book because she really is she speaks really well. And so I'm not surprised about her lyrics, because of that. But anyway, so more about you, Judy. So
You just froze.
you had a really interesting career.
Oh, you froze a little. So
I'm sorry. What did you say?
Oh, now I can hear. Now you unfroze. You froze there for a second.
Okay. Yeah, my internet connection got a little weird. So I was saying that you had a really interesting early career up to jazz, or you're singing jazz. Let's put it that way. And I'll never forget when I saw you sing. Trying to think. Remember that weird gig that we did? The guy was. It was in tribute.
Oh yeah, Harry Nemo or Henry Nemo.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
At the Conga Room in Hollywood.
Yeah. Yeah, that was such an interesting gig, and that was the first time I really saw you deliver what I felt you had brought with you. Like you had already gotten really good at and presented the music like that. And yeah. So anyway, tell us about how you came up and what creatively.
Well, just about that tribute, it was interesting because it was kind of like a staged tribute, where people were carrying their lyric sheets and they, it was kind of, and I just made a decision, and it was really not a big deal, but coming from theater, I was like, well, I'm not going to hold my lyric sheet. To hell with that. I memorized my lyrics and all. I'm gonna just perform this song. And so I think that was, I really performed it almost like it was a musical theater piece rather than rather than a jazz singer piece. For me, I was coming from. I just really want to perform this song because it was I don't have no idea what the song was, but I remember it felt very campy. It was a very campy kind of song.
Yeah.
So so I started out as an actor when I went to I acted in plays and I went to Beverly Hills High School. They had a great theater program and many decades ago, and I was in tons of plays and musicals. And after I graduated, I went to UC Santa Cruz, and I was a theater major. I was also a psychology major, so I got my degrees in both things because first I wanted to be an actress, and then I wanted to be a shrink. So I thought, neither major is that hard, so I'll just do both of them. So I did, and. But when I left school, when I graduated, I moved to San Francisco, and it was the late 70s. And I, with three other women who were also from Santa Cruz, we all moved to San Francisco, and we formed a theater collective, and it was called Caught in the Act, a theater collective of 4 short women. Anyone who knows me knows I'm a very tiny person, petite person. And so I think the tallest person in the group was 5'1". So we were all shrimps, and we made something out of it. So it was comedy and circus art. We juggled clubs. My friend Hillary ate fire. We also did serious pieces, political pieces, because the women's community in San Francisco was a huge supporter and fans of ours. So we had pretty well-attended shows, and we wrote, directed, we did everything. It was all a collective. At that time, the zeitgeist of the 70s, that's what people were doing. They were doing political theater. They were doing collectives and collaboration. So that's what we did. And we did it for a year and a half. We did a little tour and everything. But I played piano. Because I played piano my whole life, and I played for people who sang, and so there was music, and it was it was a very fun show, actually. And then after that, after we broke up, then we all went our separate ways, and most of us just went into theater. So that's what I did in San Francisco. I was an actor, and I did plays and musicals. And in a couple of years, I started a cabaret act with my friend George Quick, who I'm still friends with, and he's a wonderful singer. And then he went on to be a major theater director, he's the artistic director of a couple of playhouses, regional playhouses in the country. And so we had a lot of fun with that, doing cabaret in San Francisco, and we also did an award-winning show called Berlin 1932, which I would like to resurrect now because of what's going on in America and around the world, rising fascism. And so that musical was kind of a cult hit in San Francisco. We got the Cabaret Gold Award, and we staged it at it was called Fanny's on Castro Street. So it was in the Castro, and we had a big following. We had people they would come in SS uniforms, it was like really demented. They would come in, with makeup and and it was a very body show. I was in my underwear, we were like, the girls were in their underwear. And so, Alan, my husband, Alan Wexler, produced that. And he also played clarinet in the show.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was this really funky band. So, we had it. Then we took it to, Broadway, in San Francisco, which is this big strip street, with all the strip joints.
Yeah.
So we played in the Chi-Chi Club. And we had a stripper, and this stripper was he was not shy, and in the entr'acte she removed every piece of clothing. And my friend George, the same George who was my cabaret partner, had to sing Lily Marlena right after she exited, and he would say, really, I've got to go on stage and sing Lily Marlena in the spotlight as she is collecting her clothes that are strewn across the stage. It was crazy. It was a crazy, fun, wild show. We also had a woman who was a vaudevillian. She was like a true vaudevillian, Lola Claire, and she was about, 82.
Oh, wow.
And she came on stage and she did a soft shoe number in Top Hat and Tails.
Ah.
And, it was like a bizarre, fun, crazy show. And one performance, she fell off the stage and she broke her elbow. And sure enough, she was there the next day in a sling. And, talk about trooper. I still have a picture of her in her Top Hat and Tails hanging in my laundry room.
Oh. Wow.
So after that, I Alan and I moved back to Los Angeles. I grew up in Los Angeles, as you know, and we moved back to LA in '82 and got married. We moved 3 weeks later. We got married, and then I started trying to get into TV.
Uh-huh.
So that was a pretty difficult period because I'm obviously a character type. I'm really tiny and I look how I look, and it's those kind of character parts, and you've got to get an agent, you got to that whole thing, and go to all these casting things, and I ended up doing a lot of theater, in Los Angeles, and I did get on a Frasier, which that was 23 years ago in 97. So I'm still getting residual checks from that. I had a guest starring role as a Rhea Perlman, like sight gag, it was a show about Cheers, actually, on Frasier. And Diane, Shelley Long comes back. So she produces a play and all the characters from Cheers. And so I was basically the Rhea Perlman, the Carla, they called her Darla. And, but I didn't really, there weren't many TV or movie anything. So I eventually quit. I was on a, remember Adam 12 from when we were kids?
Yeah.
So there was a remake of that TV show called The New Adam 12, and I was cast as a doggy door burglar. So it was like a real shoot 'em up type of thing, and I had to get arrested, and it's like a whole chase scene, and but they were looking for a small person who could crawl through a doggy door. I mean, she was a burglar, and ironically, when my parents locked the door by mistake, that's how I would get into my own house. I swear to God, my head fit through the doggy door. So I was like, well, I know about doggy doors. I've sure crawled through them many a times.
That's funny.
Yeah. So, after I quit, then I started getting into, a friend of mine, let's see, what were we doing? I did the Groundlings.
Yeah.
Everybody who doesn't live in LA probably doesn't know who they are, but a lot of those people and the Second City people from Chicago end up on Saturday Night Live. So a lot of the alumni from the Groundlings and Second City are, people on Saturday Night, over the years. And so I did that whole school, which was like 2 years. And it was a bit torturous. It was pretty difficult. And you have to write your own material. And I never felt good about improv, about being that witty in the moment. And, it was, but I kept getting advanced. And then I went, okay, if they'll advance me, I may as well just do it. And, so that was an interesting experience. And then after that, a friend from that whole experience said, well, I'm going to take jazz piano lessons from Joyce Collins. So that was an interesting experience. And then
oh, yeah, Joyce Collins. So right, I forgot that you did that.
Yeah, so that's kind of how I started with all of that, getting into music, is going to Dick Grove, I took all of his convoluted harmony classes, which were, I think they were kind of convoluted, but I took all the harmony classes. I studied with Joyce Collins. I met Sonny Wilkinson there. And then Sonny, when she moved away and got married, she referred you. So that's when I met you.
Yeah. Sorry, I forgot to put who is up today, and I'm doing that while we're speaking. Thank you for letting me know. I forget who it was, but thank you, because Judy and I were talking and I didn't get to that. Sorry. So, okay. So, yeah. So, yeah.
And and to continue, if you want me to, yes. So so I was studying with you. I studied with Sonny. I studied harmony, and I had already, studied piano for many years. In college, I was actually playing classical music with a very intense teacher. So that, I don't really play the piano anymore except to practice for myself. But I do have my piano that I grew up with. When I was 10, my parents bought me a beautiful grand piano. So I've had that for decades. I won't say how many years, but it's a long time. So then I got into I did gigs. You gave me my second gig. Gig was at Buster's Ice Cream Shop in South Pasadena, and Tamir Hendelman was playing piano. I also did Karen Hammock. I think I did that twice. And the second gig I remember it was right after my mother died in 1999. It was like a month after my mother died, and you gave me a gig called Del Soleil, so I played there. And then, I was just doing little things. And then in 2004, I hooked up with Barbara Brighton, who is, very dear friend to us, and she produced my first CD. And so that kind of set the ball rolling, because Barbara had a brilliant idea to connect me with Alan Pasqua, who, as he's just one of the most amazing artists. He's just a great composer, arranger, pianist, and so fantastic with so many different styles of music too. So, that kind of started the ball rolling. That CD, Easy on the Heart.
Yeah. And so you've been musically collaborating with Alan Pasqua for years.
Yeah, off and on. Yeah.
And let's see, there was, and along the way, well, I think always, I'm guessing that always you were very good at PR and that whole line, right?
Not so much. Yeah. I mean, I think I was a hustler. Now that we're in this pandemic and 7 months have passed since like my last gig, I feel a little detached from all of that hustling and talking about myself actually at all. It's really weird. I just kind of like, I don't need to post about myself. It's mostly politics, or if there's something funny, then, just to make people laugh, because I feel like people really I sure do, need a good laugh these days. It's just interesting. But yeah, I mean, as I've been trying to get work, I've certainly put in my time hustling and trying to get good at that. So I guess the PR was a natural evolution from that.
Yeah. And you worked for Shari Lewis in kind of a PR position, right?
No, I was a personal assistant. So, so we did everything,
But then after that, you worked at
Sundance.
Sundance, yeah. What position was that?
Well, I worked, it's a Sundance Institute in Los Angeles, and which produces the Sundance Film Festival. So I started out as the executive assistant to the executive director, and then I became the office manager in addition to that, and then I also produced all of the board meetings, and the board consisted of very important people around the country, like, diverse kind of people like Kenneth Cole, the designer, or Sally Field, or Denzel Washington, and the head of PBS, Pat Mitchell at the time, the head of Fox Filmed Entertainment, the head of Interscope Records. I mean, they were kind of big shots. So Hollywood big shots. So we would have several board meetings a year, in New York City and at Salt Lake City or Sundance. We had to kind of go to Sundance for weeks during the summer, which was really, you can't complain about that. It's so gorgeous, really super beautiful. It's a resort, so all the labs for filmmakers and composers. There's a composers lab. So very famous composers came and were creative advisors to people wanting to compose for film, and theater artists who are, Angels in America and, the Matthew Shepard story, all these plays that, a lot of people are familiar with were Hedwig and the Angry Inch. They were workshopped at Sundance. They might have been workshopped at other places like Playwrights Horizon or what have you, but Sundance, they did a lot of work at Sundance, and there's a huge film lab. So a lot of films that we're very familiar with were workshopped at Sundance. So, it was really a high quality multi-arts organization. And Robert Redford, who, I worked with him in his cabin one summer, which was very interesting. And so, there were tons of creative, interesting people. So, and I was there for just about 7 years. So it was a long, it was a long time.
Yeah. Wow. It's a lot. That is a long time. What a great gig. What a great thing.
And I got to see a lot of good movies too.
Yeah. You kind of take the lead on this because I don't want to,
Sure.
But that got you into PR, like a lot of PR work.
Well, actually, that didn't. But what happened was, as life goes, jobs kind of come and go, and then you're trying to find what the right thing for you to do is. So I was in a position where I was between jobs. After Sundance, I worked part-time at a nonprofit, and I actually glad that ended. And so, but, so I was looking for what I should be doing. And if you just try to make money, the market isn't, with all the skills I had, and I also had other accounting skills and things like that, the result was you couldn't really make too much money, at these horrible jobs. So I was just like, okay, I gotta think outside the box here. I'm kind of too old to try and go to work for a corporation or for some, I just can't do it. Like I'm done, and because it was like 20 years of being a support person in admin. It's like enough already. Even with all the creative people to work around at Sundance and Jerry Lewis and all that, it was like enough. So someone who had just released an album with a record label, she complained to me, just off the cuff. She's like, wow, my record label was supposed to get me reviews and they only got 2. So I just said, wow, off the top of my head, like without even looking at a computer, I could get you more reviews than that. And she was like, really? And I was like, yeah, because I know so many jazz journalists from my years of putting out records. So people who have written about me, and, sometimes you have a personal relationship, you thank somebody and one thing leads to another, or you have an interview with somebody and you go, I really like this person, or I've met them, or I've hung out with them. And so I thought, of the people that I know, I'll use them as the first kind of source material for the service list. And she hired me. So that was in 2012. So it's been, October. That was in September of 2012. So now we are actually starting our 9th year of business. Mouthpiece Music, it's called, is my PR company, and my husband, Alan Wexler, is my partner. And so it's just the two of us, and she had a very successful campaign, and I got her a ton of reviews, and she was pretty prolific recording artist, and I've done 3 subsequent albums of hers. I promoted every album got a lot of reviews, and the business just expanded by word of mouth. Basically, I never did any advertising or really anything. It's just a word of mouth situation. And so I do have a pseudonym that I use to protect the innocent. No, it's to promote them. There are many reasons to not be myself when I'm doing the work, but honestly, it's really all about them. I'm not promoting Judy Wexler at all. Nobody needs to have I don't need attention on me. So when I I have a Holly Cooper phone, a cell phone, accounts in social media, and she has her email accounts. It's all a separate identity, and I don't feel schizophrenic at all. I feel like I can completely keep track of who's who. And who I am when I'm doing whatever.
Right. I never noticed any schizophrenic thing.
So, it doesn't feel, because people are like, really? Doesn't that confuse you? And I'm like, no, it doesn't confuse me in the least bit. So actually, so it's grown to the point where, we've worked with, Grammy winners like John DeVersa and Tierney Sutton and you and multiple times, and Kenny Washington. We're working with Sina E, some really wonderful artists, and Madeline Eastman, and just a lot of people from the Bay Area, people all over the country, and some internationally too. We've had clients in Japan and Greece, and Sina is in Denmark, of course. So I enjoy it, and it's grown, and I've done quite a bit of research and keep doing research on finding new publications and writers and, places where people can get reviewed.
Yeah. And one thing I've always admired about your communication with these people, these writers, and I've seen this over and over with you, is that both in person and otherwise, that you're just yourself, and you're interested in who you're speaking with. If I was a reviewer, you'd be interested in me. You'd be interested in my husband and how's my kitchen going, and you're personable. You're not just trying to sell a product, and I think that's why you're really successful, and why the good people really like working with you. Because
Cathy, it became an interesting amalgam of my admin skills, how to write a good letter, and obviously it's you're constantly pitching people. Yeah. So it's it's a combination of having, it's all about relationships, and some writers are more open with you, and some people are just, like they won't even answer they won't even call you back or answer your emails unless they are interested in reviewing the album. Yeah. There's like no communication, so it can be very frustrating, because because all I'm doing really when I work, and sometimes it's just sitting there for 7 hours asking people to do things for me. Really, that's what it is. It's like a professional nudge. And my mother always thought I was a big nudge, like when growing up. So I guess, it kind of fits with my personality, but it's really comes down to, in the nicest possible way, I'm going to ask you to please review this person. But then again, I don't have control over it. Yeah. I can only put it out there. And as I try to tell all the artists, it does come down to the music. It just absolutely comes down to the music. I could nudge till the cows come home, but the thing is, does that album, does it resonate with the writer? Does it hit them? Does the first track speak to them? Does, do they want to keep listening? So there are some projects that I find so fascinating how they will get the most reviews. Like, I am working on a duo project, and it's a wonderful project, but it's a duo, voice and bass. Her name is Noah Levy. She's an Israeli living in San Francisco, who collaborated with a Japanese bass player who is now living in New York, and it's Cole Porter. So, for me, Cole Porter, it's like, I always think, I wish there were more, interesting. I mean, Cole Porter was an amazing songwriter, of course, obviously, that's why he's Cole Porter. But I think, oh, okay, everybody's heard Love for Sale and everybody's heard, So, but this album, they have been reviewed by almost all the international people. I mean, every day, like another country, is reviewing them. And the project's many months old at this point, and she just got another review from a publication, print magazine from Toronto. So, and that covers classical and jazz. And I thought, and it's the first time they've covered one of our artists. And I just think it's so interesting how this duo project has captured people. It's captured the attention of so many jazz journalists. So, there's a kind of thing where even I don't know. Now, I don't mean to say it like that, even I, but, you think after, years of doing this, you have a bead on what's really going to take off.
Sure. Yeah, that would make sense.
So, there are some surprises.
Yeah.
And then other times there are projects where I worked a project with Chick Corea, George Benson, Wynton Marsalis, every name you can think of was on this album, and it was a struggle.
Huh.
And I won't mention what it was, but for me, the struggle, which made sense, was that the source material was kind of stupid music. I mean, it was played brilliantly and arranged brilliantly, but yet the source music was like cartoon music. So it's like, it's a very interesting, it's just interesting how things pan out.
Yeah. Well, and it just feeds into the idea, not the idea, but feeds into the concept that you can't plan out your career. It's you do what you do the best you can do it, and you move forward doing it, and that's how life should be, right? And whatever is going to happen happens, and then you deal with it as it happens, and you either change it or you go along with it, or something new develops, or it's definitely a life lesson, isn't it?
It is a life lesson, and it's just interesting because you can make plans, and the truth is you don't know. You could say, I want this to be played on the radio, therefore I'm going to make it under 4 minutes, and I'm going to, do this and I'm not going to have any bass solos in there, and I'm going to, and guess what? Nobody wants to play that on the radio.
Yeah.
You
say, guess what?
Yeah, just because you think it sounds like something that should be on the radio, it's like, not so much. Because you can't really And I totally agree with you. And I do, I'm doing a project now, so I will do things like, well, this intro is 38 seconds and there's not a lot happening in it, so let's cut it down. Or I did the same thing with a solo. It's like, you know what, that solo happens to have been written on one chord. There was no changes. It was just one chord solo for 26 bars. Mm-hmm. It's like, I was like, nope, it's it's not going to get played on the radio. It's just not interesting enough. Nobody's going to, so I changed it, but that still doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
I'll know when I give it to a radio promoter. And even then, a radio promoter on Crowded Heart said there was one song on there. He said, this song, no one will ever play this on the radio. And as it turned out, it was one of the 3 songs that K-Jazz in LA picked. And when they were spinning me a lot, that's what they play. So it's like even the people in the know do not know.
Yeah.
It's all taste,
Hey Jude, could we possibly see a YouTube video of you?
No, I don't think there's really much there. There's only from recorded music.
Okay. All right. Well, let's do a Spotify.
Okay.
This is my time when I can go to the ladies' room too,
I was wondering about that. 2 hours.
You can also, but
okay.
So we're going to go to Spotify here, and that was Circus Life was beautiful. What else should I go? Should I do from the last?
Let's see. How about if Mon is still on? I don't know if he is, but play. I guess you could play Painted on Canvas for him if, I don't know if he's there, but.
Okay, great. Here's Judy Wexler from Crowded Heart, and this is Painted on Canvas. And who wrote this?
Gregory Porter. The great Gregory Porter wrote it.
Okay, here we go.
Picking up shades as we go. We start off with gesso, brushed on by people we know. Watch your technique as you go. Step back and admire my view. Can I use the colors I choose? Do I have some say what you use? Some green and some blues. We're made by the pigment of paint that is put upon. Our stories are told by our hues. Like Motley and Bearden, these masters of peace and picking up shapes as we go. We start off with gesso, brushed on by people we know. Watch your technique as you go. Step back and admire my view. Can I use the colors I choose? Do I have some say what you use? Can I get some green with my blues?
That's nice. You know, it's been a while since I heard this record, so it's really nice to hear it again.
Me too.
There you go. Yeah, it's really nice. It's the lyrics. Yeah, the lyrics that you picked, as I recall, on this whole project were very meaningful. Really, you know, really.
I love the lyrics to this song.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I think they're so great.
Yeah. You have this really great ability, which a lot of people talk about, you know, to pick unusual and unique songs, you know. What is there a process that you go through that, or is it just a natural thing that you do?
Well, it's only it's like what resonates. You know what I mean? That's all the process is. You know, it's like what, you know, of course it's, the lyrics have to be great and the melody has to be great. You know, it's interesting because I'm doing this project, which is kind of similar to your project. Now, it's a new recording that'll come out next year. But it's all 60s songs, and I'm finding the lyrics, I'm finding with those, you know, most of them are well-known songs. So that is a different, that's a whole different thing for me. And I'm finding the lyrics are fabulous, and sometimes the melodies not so much. You know, and it wasn't until I really dug into them to go, oh, interesting that this one, you know, this one's like 3 notes, or, you know, it's like, and, you know, I have to figure out exactly what to do with it.
Yeah.
But I think I'll be, I think really honing in on the lyrics is going to be the most helpful way to get to the place of, if I have to do some melodic enhancement stuff, which I've done on some things that I think work for sure, but it's really, I think it's really about communicating the lyrics, as we were saying at the top of the interview, in an authentic way. So I don't know, you know, I'm finding it very challenging, more challenging than other projects.
Me too.
You are?
Yes, I am, because
Oh my God.
yeah, well, there are these songs that I love, you know, that I loved when they first came out, and like Living for the City. I'm doing Living for the City. Wow. It's now maybe if I had arranged it a little differently, maybe it might have been easier. I think about that now. But and I find it very challenging because I have to find what is appropriate and authentic for me, the way I sing. You know, I'm not going to be copying anybody because I don't copy that great, you know. I mean, I'm not going to be Aretha.
And why would you do that anyway? Yeah.
Yeah. So I really have to I really have to do something different. And I think I might have told you this, but I was thinking of, because I have the music, all the music's done, I was thinking of, for this particular song, and some others, of dropping out, going into the studio and dropping out some of the instruments so that I have space to do what I need to do. So I'm going to try that, because singing it right now it's hard. It's hard coming up with what I do the best.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. It's interesting because I'm having background vocals on, which I've never done before. I've never had anyone put background vocals on anything. You know, on Circus Life, which you played at the beginning, I did it myself. But this time, Erin Bentledge is doing it, and so I was on a Zoom with her. With Jeff Colella, who's the arranger, and we were talking about these things, and I told her, I've got another song coming for you. I gave her two. I said, there's a third one, but I'm struggling with it because, this is a song that has, just the melody there's not much to it, and so I just said I'm just not finding my way yet with it. I have to figure it out. And she goes, that's interesting because I have friends who are working on projects that are very meaningful to them. So this is very meaningful to me because I'm doing some protest songs and I'm doing and it's just a combination of amazing and sad that a lot of the protest songs that came out in the 60s, so it's 60 years later, they're even more relevant than they, and I lived then, so I know, but they're more relevant now in today's environment than they were when they were written. And so it makes me sad. And because we haven't moved, maybe we had some enlightenment in there in the 60 years, but now we've regressed and we're not in good shape as a country and the world and climate change, it's like serious stuff. And so I'm just finding it very challenging because to find the right tone, it's like one song I did, well, gee, that came out sad. That's too sad. I don't want it to be a sad song, even though it is very sad. I don't think it should be sung sadly. So I have to redo that, So it's just more. I've never had these issues come up like this in a recording. It's a new problem.
Yeah.
But, I have completed about 7 or 8, which I'm very, very happy with.
Yeah. And, I wanted to mention this to you, actually, because we've been talking about this stuff offline. I've been, producing Catherine Bostick's record. And what I found actually very interesting was this one song that she's been working on lately, when she brought in the background singer. She had done the rough tracks, but she wanted to redo, some of the vocal stuff. And she brought in this incredible background singer. And all of a sudden, there was this extra wonderful information to respond to, So that was actually, you might be, have more responsiveness after Erin puts down the background vocals, instead of before.
Yeah, with this song that I find challenging, it's a Bob Dylan song, I'm just wondering if I should just sing the verses and then give it to her and then let her, because there's going to be background on the choruses, and let her do her thing. And then, just as you said, maybe, because I have that idea, maybe I should have her just do that without me singing the chorus at all, and then put on what I think I should do afterwards.
Yeah.
So,
it works really well.
I just feel it just feels like a little bit of a failure on my part. You know what I mean?
I don't think
You know what I mean? It's kind of like, oh God, I'm failing at being able to
No,
do this
I don't
well.
think so. I don't think so. I think because it's everything that we do is not singular. We're part of the whole piece. And, we're always co-arrangers, right? It's not just, us singing alone. We're singing with the musicians, and the background singing is another part of that. I don't think it's a failure at all.
Yeah. So okay. So maybe I will do that. Make my life. Just change up the process a little bit. So.
Yeah. And especially since you thought of it anyway. Toby Simmons said, like Stand and Be Counted by David Crosby. I don't think I know that one. I might know it, but yeah. Yeah. And yeah. So what else? What else can we talk about? It's interesting. I mean, you and I can talk about anything, but it's interesting to me to see how people are responding right now, how musicians are responding, especially the musicians that we know, in Los Angeles especially, and how they're responding to this time. And what are some of the things that you've been enjoying? I know you're working still, at word of mouth, but what are some of the things that you've noticed? And it doesn't have to be about Los Angeles musicians. I mean, like there's Kurt Elling who's doing just amazingly wonderful things that I've been super enjoying, and lots of different people. But
yeah, and Janice Siegel and Lauren Kinnan are doing some really great stuff with Vocal Gumbo, and having a lot of really great guest artists, and I think they're so creative. So I enjoy that when it crosses my eyes in a time when I can put my attention on it. It's great. For me, I've found it's very interesting. At first, when the lockdown first happened, I was writing down when everybody's live stream was, and I was trying to show up for as much as I could possibly show up for. And now, 7 months later, I'm finding I'm just focusing on my own stuff. And I am almost ignoring everything. I hate to say it, but, I feel very busy. And, with work, which I'm so grateful that people move forward with their projects. And I kept telling people it's actually a very good time to do PR. Yeah. You may not be able to go out and perform and support the project with live shows and touring. But however, on the other hand, the writers are in their houses. They're sitting at their desks and they're writing. And, the first thing I did when all of this started was I contacted Jazz Times and Jazzies and Downbeat. And I said, are you guys publishing, or, what's been going on? And the guy at Downbeat was like, well, we've been publishing for 85 years. We're not about to stop now. Yeah. We work out of our houses anyway. So it's really doesn't impact hardly anything. So, so once I knew that everybody was still working and they were still doing what they do, then I encourage people to just move forward, and most people wanted to anyway. But it's still a very good time for PR, which you wouldn't think that, but it is. I've been busy, and then I'm busy with my own project too. So I think for the people I know, there are certain people who just if they're singers, they will have a need to sing regardless of the circumstances. So they'll find a way to do a live stream, or they'll connect with a bass player or a piano player and, do something that sometimes it doesn't look too safe to me. What we know about singing and the spread of the virus and all that, but that's their choice. But so a lot of people are still performing, but I don't really have a bead on what everybody's experiences are.
Yeah.
Some people are just, they're kind of working on songs if they're singers, and then they're going out and just trying to do as much outdoor activity as possible. While the weather is, here in LA, it's been kind of one heat wave after another. So, it's in the 90s today. So, but there's still a lot to do, hiking and what have you. So, I don't really know. I don't really have a great sense of it.
Yeah. I like you. In fact, I have a sheet that I've neglected here, with different people on different days, and I was telling you in the beginning, I went down to 3 days a week in the last few weeks, and I think more people were listening when it was 6 days a week because they just assumed that I was on. And if they missed the one day that I was off, then they missed it. And now they have to actually remember that it's Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So, but that's interesting. And there are people, like you said, I come across, or I suddenly remember they're on, and I've been watching movies. In fact, I watched the documentary that Barbara Bentry and John Rangel did on Dave Grusin. I watched that the other night, and it was wonderful. If anyone's interested, that's grusinfilm.com, and you rent it for $12, and it's really, it's an amazing project. They worked 4 years on it, and they're just, so it's been releasing, right now, and it's wonderful. I mean, boy, they just had a great time. And the fact that they were both musicians and they made this film just made it all,
I love music documentaries. I think there's some really great ones that have come out.
I heard that, that lemon got me. I heard that somebody saw a Frank Sinatra documentary that they said they loved. Yeah. I wouldn't mind seeing that, Frank Sinatra. Yeah. So, hi, Gail Dobson. Hi.
Hey, Gail Dobson.
Let's see. Well, let's take another moment and listen. And meanwhile, we can, we can get together and talk for more than 2 hours easily. So, but let's take a moment, and maybe you and I will think of some more information. And I do want to put in a plug for myself for today, and I'm going to copy and paste, because tonight I'm going to be doing a live stream with Tamir Hendelman. So I'm going to put that down, talking about following what people are doing. It's only about an hour at 6 o'clock. So anyway, we're going to go back to Spotify, and we are going to play. What do you think?
Let's see. How about The Last Goodbye? Georgia's, I don't know if she's still with us, but let's play her song.
Okay, so this is written by Alan Broadbent and Georgia
Mancio.
Yeah. By the way, tell people who's on this record.
Alan Pasqua, arranger and pianist. Dara Goles on bass. Steve Haas on drums. Josh Johnson, alto sax. Bob Shepard, alto flute. Aaron Safarti on percussion. And Stephanie Fife on cello. I think that's everybody.
No guitar on this one?
And Larry Koontz.
Okay.
I'm saying Larry Koontz. Sorry, Larry. Yes.
Okay. All right, here we go. The last goodbye from Crowded Heart.
I passed by the house just today. It seemed to have something to say. The gates were worn and the pathway was torn. And yet I still hoped you'd be there. The lights that you hung from the tree, the flowers you planted for me, the shoes that you wore, they were right by the door. And so I still hoped you'd be there. The time slipped through our hands. Life seemed so planned. I thought you'd be here always. Now that I'm standing alone, I see it's a house, not a home. Goodbye, my old friend. I won't pass by again. Still hoping that I'll find you that I'll find you there. Still hoping, still hoping.
So pretty. And you're right, the lyrics are so beautiful.
Isn't it amazing? It's just such a beautiful story that she painted. Hmm.
It's really amazing. Yeah. Yeah, that's really quite beautiful. Well, I mean, all your projects have this quality of sound. It's really beautiful. As I said when we first came on, you have great taste, and it's not just that you have Alan Pasqua arranging, but you have to okay it, and you have to want it and suggest things, and so yeah, it's. Oh, hi, Dina DeRose.
Hi, Dina.
And
Yeah, for this project, it as I said, it took a year, and the process to pick those tunes that I was hoping would sound like standards is I did a ton of research, and I asked so many. I didn't get to everybody, but I wish I had. But I asked so many people who I knew were songwriters to send me their songs. Like Renee Marie sent me like 18 songs that she had written, and on and on. And then once it resonated with me, I sent it to Alan. And so if he liked it, if he agreed with me, or he could hear an arrangement of it, then he gave it the thumbs up, but there were a lot of things that didn't make it in, of course, because, it did take a year. But I was just committed to having the songs that sounded most like standards. Now, some of them don't really fit that mold, but, and some of them are pretty, like one is very hard to sing, I think. It's the Enrico Peranunzi with lyrics by Lorraine Feather. It's, I Took Your Hand, but I just loved it so much. I mean, I don't know that would qualify as sounding like a standard, but The Last Goodbye certainly does. To me, this song sounds like a standard, a modern standard.
yeah.
So, now the project I'm working on now is with Jeff Colella, who is also a great arranger and pianist. And so, it's a different process, and everybody you work with, it's going to be a different process.
Yeah.
So,
Do you find that picking musicians for recording is different than picking musicians for live gigs?
Well, I don't sing live with Alan unless it's a CD release party. So I would have to say yes. But now with the rest of the rhythm section and other players, sometimes, like Josh Johnson, I've never had the opportunity to perform with him, but he's a tremendous alto sax player. Like Alan said, get him. He sounds like Cannonball. So he's just, I think he's fantastic. So, there are people who I haven't, I've asked him, but he's never been available. So, but the core people I like to have is the people that I do live gigs with. So on this new project, it's Gabe Davis.
Uh-huh.
Is a favorite of a lot of LA people. He's a great player. He's so imaginative on this album. He does so many interesting things. His intonation is so perfect. And he's just a great human being. So I like working with him, and Steve Haas on drums, I think.
Haas, yeah,
such
I
a
know. I
creative
love him.
Yeah, so I try to keep it kind of similar when I can.
Yeah.
And Jeff, I've been working with him for 15 years now. So
Yeah, long time.
So we've done literally hundreds of gigs together.
Yeah.
And we've gone to, we went to Israel together, and it's like I had to play at the Tel Aviv Jazz Festival, and that was the first and only time I got to go to Israel. I've been wanting to go my whole life, basically. So that was a good opportunity. I have a funny story about that because at the airport.
Can I ask you a technical question?
Sure.
Is there water running in the background?
Yeah.
Okay, now I don't
There's
hear.
no sound in my house at all.
Okay, it must be on the line. Okay, go ahead.
Someone's flushing a toilet. No, I don't know. Yeah, we get to the, obviously I'm Jewish, so we get to the airport. This is LAX, and I had no idea what to expect. But there were people with, I'm pretty sure they had rifles. I'm not sure, but the people at LL. The airline, and checking you in, and they actually, while you're standing in line, they kind of come up to you and they say, what are you doing? Where are you going? Who do you know? What, they ask you a lot of questions, because obviously terrorism is a big problem. So, they were, and me, my little petite person, it's like, what, where are you going? I said, I'm going to Tel Aviv to perform. Who are you staying with, or who is sponsoring you? Do you know people there? And I said, yes, my uncle lives in Haifa. I actually have, my uncle lives in Israel. And then, then after all of this, and she, by the way, this woman was my size, small woman, my size, with like hair, like my real hair, the intensely curly hair, long curly hair, and she's really all intense and in my face. And then finally she goes, is this your first time in Israel? And I went, yes. And she said, what took you so long? Just like that. I just laughed. I went, I know, like, really, I feel the same way. What took me so long? But I just thought it was so funny.
That's great. So, yeah, so you've done quite a bit of traveling, right?
I've certainly sung in New York a bunch of times, like at the Blue Note and Birdland and Catano and those kind of places. And
Dina's asking a loaded question. Who has been some of your favorite accompanists?
Well, Alan Pasqua. I love Jeff Colella. I think he's a great, obviously, because we've been together for 15 years. So I think he's a fabulous accompanist, also arranger. Let's just see. Mark Soskin has been a very good accompanist when I've gone to New York. I was going to do, obviously it got canceled, the Side Door in Connecticut. I was set to do that with John Martino, who I know is a great accompanist in New York, and I was really looking forward to playing with him. So maybe that'll happen in the coming years. We'll see. And, Karen Hammock is a good accompanist too. So, yeah, that's all I can think of at the moment.
Yeah. I know, Dina, well, of course, Dina's a great pianist and singer. And she's also asking, what do you find important in an accompanist?
Well, I think for me, because I focus so much on telling the story and lyrics, I think someone who gets what the lyrics are, and both Alan and Jeff are very good at knowing what the story is too, and how to play to support storytelling. They're both excellent at that, and leaving space and not overplaying. I do not like overplaying. That really bothers me. So those are qualities. I personally love very interesting harmonic choices. When there are surprises in the harmonic choices and the voicings that piano players use, I dig that. So I'm really partial to that. And some people are really creative with that, and some people are not. And, there's players in Los Angeles who are amazing at that. And then I'll see other players who are very good players, but I find harmonically it doesn't, my ears aren't that interested in what they're doing. So I would stay away from those people, even though, they're probably great players. It's just not for me personally.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that's something for myself too over the years. I like different things. Now, I don't know if I had Tom Garvin here,
oh, Tom.
I would still, I mean, he was not that outside in his playing.
But he wasn't.
So amazing
He loved singers.
recording. Yeah, he was really amazing at
He was a wonderful arranger. For those of you who don't know Tom Garvin, he passed away 6 or 7 years ago, it feels like, and he was my guy. Actually, maybe it was longer than that. He was my guy for a long time. I coached with him too. And they go, wow, when I played for Carmen, she would have sung this phrase like this, like you go, oh, okay, thank you. Peggy Lee would have sung it this way. And so, that's really good information. So, and he loved singers. He was so fabulous.
Jack Jones, who's a great musician, one of his favorites was Tom Garvin.
Yeah.
And Lou Matthews was like that too, I found. Very much like Tom Garvin, like a real supporter of the singer and very high level concepts of harmony rather. And I know it's really interesting who you get along with and who you don't.
Right.
Yeah. My gig last weekend was wonderful. I haven't really played with Quinn Johnson very much. It was really lovely, and
he's a wonderful player.
Yeah, and Ahmet Zin on bass, and he's 2 weeks away from his musical doctorate. And
who is this, Cathy?
Ahmet.
Oh, okay, the bass player.
Right. His solos were unbelievably melodic and adventurous and just really beautiful. And then I used Aaron on drums.
Uh-huh.
And I've never played with him on drums really, and it was wonderful. Boy, it was great.
Oh,
And
great.
I don't think it was just because I haven't sung for a long time. I think it was really it was amazing playing with those three. But Quinn sounded great, and I really enjoyed playing with him, with his piano playing.
Yeah, I've heard him a number of times. He sounds great.
Yeah. Have you played with Tamir for a while?
I played with Tamir at the beginning, which was over 20 years ago, 20-ish years ago. So, but I have not played with him in many years.
Yeah. I know he and I don't really, travel the same circles. And so I'm looking forward to making music with him.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. What else did I wanted to ask you something about musicians. Yeah. So when it's your choice of musicians for a live gig, let's say, what leads you? I mean, other than, of course, the location and that kind of thing, but what do you look for? Actually, you and I have talked about this for like East Coast players.
Well, this is what I want to say about getting people for on the road, because I am not, I have done a lot of stuff, but it pales in comparison to what a lot of people have done. I mean, I've certainly gone out enough, but I know people do it all the time. They're always doing that. I'm not like that. However, I have done it enough so that I have gotten into trouble. And without naming any names, there are, some things that are red flags for me, but it's kind of like you don't know until that's over, and then you have to not play with them again. So, first of all, those people, clearly have to be good readers. In Los Angeles, we kind of take it and New York should be the same way, but we take it for granted that people are good readers because of all the studio musicians. You go in and, they've never seen anything. They play the crap out of it. So I just take that for granted. Everybody can read, but it is not the case. And depending on how distracted people are or what their other physical issues may be that I may not be privy to. I've had some experiences where, you think you're doing everything right. You give the musicians plenty of time to have the music in advance. You give them tracks. This is the way you can read the arrangement. You can listen to the arrangement. You can, you have all the information to play it, and yet there's like a major fail. You have a rehearsal. I mean, I've had these situations. I don't know if it's me. It's not me. But I'm not the one playing the piano. But the thing is, if the piano player is not solid, I've had circumstances where they don't appear to be. They're not reading the roadmap. Even though we've rehearsed this, and I know one rehearsal playing a chart may not, sear it into your brain, but there is like, wow, he's going straight to the end, no solos, like the tune did not end, but you just ended it, and then now I'm in shock here on stage, or you're just not getting any of the hits. The piano figures that, it's like, wow, so I think the thing about traveling is like, you really have to have someone who is close to perfect, or can fudge their way through so that other people may not, I don't know. I've had great experiences and I've had scary experiences where I just go, wow, this is good. And I'm so disappointed because, I felt like I did everything to prepare the band for it. But yet, when the time came, there's maybe one person in the band who fell short. And then it makes you look bad. So, I'm trying in the future, whenever I will have the opportunity to get out there again, I'm really hoping to avoid that, by picking people who just are subject to those kind of mistakes.
Yeah, it's interesting. I remember when I was first starting out in Los Angeles, and I was married to my first husband, Gus Garcia, he was a strong, spiritually led person and very opinionated. And he actually taught me a lot about perspective. And I remember there was this one period of time where I was searching for the right musicians to play together. And I was trying to match them musically. And he said, it's not really about that. It's about their personalities. And he was really right. I found that, afterwards. It was like, yeah, match personalities and then anything good can happen,
Yes and no. I mean, I only partially agree with that. Because, you could have someone you're so simpatico with, but yet they may not be the perfect player for you for other reasons. So,
oh yeah, well, I mean, they
start out with the people that would fit what you're doing, and you love their playing. Then, yes, I agree.
Well, I'm talking about picking the band. So, the band to be together. Of course, you want a personal relationship.
Right.
Yeah.
No, but I know what you mean. I've had instances where the piano player and the bass player are like, to each other, and you go, oops, like, oops, I don't think I'll ever repeat this combination,
Okay, and let's see. Oh, actually, I had a question a while ago. Sorry, from but I think she left. It was from Joyce Glasgow. She wanted to know, while you were working your straight jobs, well, if we can call them straight jobs, were you still singing? But you were singing.
Yes. No, she's not here. I'll answer it. Yes, I was always singing. I was always working on stuff. And I was doing gigs, when I worked for, when I worked for Sherry Lewis, I was an actress. So I remember, but that's different. I know that's not what she asked, but I did have a funny story because I had an agent, and, I got this call for the Frasier TV show. And I said, this was a full-time job, 9 to 6. So I said, Sherry, and I had to be there. And I said, can I go to this audition? And she goes, oh, honey, yes, it's a really good show. Yes, you go to the audition, And so then when I got cast, and the way they cast you, because they do a callback, they do a first audition, and you go, okay, that character, like, there's all sorts of people who kind of fit the description of the character. Like, someone's a kind of a demented version of that, and some, these, like, they can go with her, who's like really weird, or they could go with, so, but, and then you do a callback, and then they go, like, Judy, move your car onto the lot. Like, that's how they tell you have the role. Move your car onto the lot. Then you move it, boom, walk on the set, boom, it starts. So, so I was going, oh God, I got the role. Now I'm going to miss a week of work. She's going to kill me. And so I called into work and I said, I'm not coming in actually the whole week because I got the role. And she was like, oh, honey, have fun. It's a great show. And you just go, really? That's your boss. That I thought that was great. When I worked at Sundance, so I was already in the musical world and doing gigs. So it was a little more complicated. Yeah. But I was always working on music. I was working with, I coached with Tamir. I coached with Tom Garvin. They gave me really great lessons and information with singing. They helped me with my singing. And, ultimately I lost my job at Sundance because I was recording my first album. Huh. And I think that really annoyed my boss. Oh. So it was kind of like, here I am working for this extremely creative organization with tons of artists running around all the time. And I felt, I'm supposed to be doing this admin job, but I'm being punished because I also happen to be creative myself, but I can't do that and work at the same time. So I had to find something else to do to support myself. So, which I did. So it's fine. But yes, I was always working on stuff. Throughout all of it. Yeah.
That's cool. Let's see. Mark's here, Mark Winkler.
Hi, Mark.
Dina says, what are a few of your favorite songs these days, Judy?
Well, it's weird because this isn't going to be that interesting, I don't think, because I've been working on my new project, which is, I don't know if Dina was here when I was talking about it, but it's all 1960s songs. So it's all protest songs and some songs that aren't, we're going to probably call it Back to the Garden, songs of love, hope, and resistance. But if Biden wins, which, please, universe, I think that's probably going to be happening very soon. We'll call it Back to the Garden, Songs of Love, Hope, and Change, I think. But there are some protest songs, and I think you're doing this. I know you have recorded the same one, a couple of the same ones. But, you know, one of the ones that I would never think that I would like is For What It's Worth, the Buffalo Springfield, you know, Stephen Stills. And I never thought I could actually sing it. You know, I never thought I could sing it authentically, but I did record it. And, you know, my husband, Alan Wexler, is just like, hey, you sound jive. You know, cut it out.
He said, you sound jive? Is that what he said?
You sound jive singing this song. So he's just like, just sing it as you. And he's really liking, I mean, I love this song, but it's, you know, it's not something I've discovered. It's an iconic song. You know, so For What It's Worth, Get Together by the Youngbloods, you know, those are songs I'm digging right now. And, you know, but they're not in the jazz idiom at all. But, you know, we'll see if this CD even sounds like a jazz CD. I have no idea. You know, I don't have a clue at this point.
I think it does, and it will, because of the arrangements, the playing.
Yeah, maybe because of the arrangements.
Yeah, I thought the same thing about mine, because I have similar material, but it's definitely a jazz record. Although I think part of my background singing, you know, like growing up in the 70s and performing a lot, you know, I did a lot of funk and R&B.
Right.
And even though I don't consider myself a funk or R&B singer, I still have some of that in me, you know.
And you do it great. You know, your show at APAP 2 years ago, I thought it was fabulous. You did that more R&B material.
Yeah, thanks. Oh, Mike Campbell.
Hi, Mike. Miss you.
Hot Morrow. Hello.
Hot Morrow.
My friend Leslie Zoria says, she quoted, "All skill is in vain if an angel pisses in the flintlock of your musket."
I'll have to...
I was kind of talking about, you know, the band stuff. Well, believe it or not, it's almost 2 hours.
Okay,
See?
You're right.
It went by pretty fast. What's interesting about on this session is that you and I usually, because we have a personal relationship, we talk about personal stuff too. So we could talk for hours, but in this kind of situation, I have to actually think about business-wise what to ask you and show you off, you know. But I was thinking, yeah, there's one thing that I wanted to ask you in a business sense, you know, coming from your PR job, from your word of mouth job, which...
Mouthpiece music.
Oh, I'm sorry. Mouthpiece music.
Okay.
Hello. I've only used the company 5 times or something. Anyway, coming from that, I wanted to ask you if you have any advice for people making records, or maybe what to expect, or any little...
Sure. I mean, I could probably go on about that for a long time. We don't really have much time, but you know, as we were saying before, it's kind of, you can plan and you can think that something will resonate a certain way with either radio or PR, or with, you know, trying to get gigs, or, you know, whatever it is that you're wanting to happen from your album release, you know. But I agree with you, and I think it's very important that you mostly do it for yourself, to make yourself happy, and not for anybody else, because you cannot plan to make things happen in a certain way, because oftentimes people they're just not going to respond the way you think they will. So there's lots of surprises in there. What I taught that class how to make a great CD, and I think there are certain pitfalls to avoid, but I think number one, the material, the songs. To me, the songs that are at the top of the list. Pick interesting songs. Most people have heard everything by now. They've heard all the standards. So yes, go sing a standard, but if you're going to do it in a very interesting way that has not been done that way before. Get a great arranger, do something unusual or something that's going to make it stand out. And so you're going to do standards, great, but do them differently. And take the time to think about if you're going to do a theme, what are all the different songs that fit with your theme? And, sometimes just having a theme ties everything together. And in it, like, for example, a CD you produced, Maida Dinos, the theme was the garden. The garden is my stage, and she's a landscape architect. So she knows what she's doing with planting and with flowers and with all that kind of stuff and with designing. So every song had something to do with that, with flowers that left something or, what have you. And I think that got kind of an amazing response for a debut album. It sure got, she had well over 20 fantastic reviews.
Yeah,
and,
it was great.
That's unusual for a debut. Because when they open the envelope, at least I'm coming from the jazz journalist point of view because that's what I do.
Yeah.
If they know the person, if they're familiar with this artist, then they will listen right away.
Yeah.
If they've never heard of them, if it's a debut, they'll be put in a stack and they will be gotten to, when they get to it in the stack. And since the writers actually don't make a lot of money most of the time. So it's a kind of a weird model. We have all these writers who, if they're blog writers and it's their blog, they're not making any money unless they can monetize their site. Even Downbeat and Jazz Times, they don't, pay a fortune for reviews. So, it's just an interesting world, but you make things as interesting as possible by the song selection, by the creativity of the arranger. So you've got to pick, like I had a repeat project from the Bay Area, and this woman plays with her father. I felt that she could do better if she branched out and found other arrangers, because her father was playing, like, his sensibility was in a very kind of standard there, as we were talking before about interesting harmonic choices and voicings and things that spark your ears and, make it something interesting. So her advice was, well, what should I do for my next album? And I said, well, maybe you can find somebody other than your father to play with. And then I lost that account. That was the end of them. So, it's like, but that was my advice. You want to know my opinion? I'll tell you my opinion. Take it or leave it. But if you ask me, I'll tell you what I really think. So I just, as I said, a combination of good source material, good songs that aren't done to death, and arranged in a way that's interesting. And then you yourself as an artist have to connect with it, So all those things are important. And also, I would say, people sometimes make albums that are way too long, and they don't need to do that. They don't need to make anything over 10 tunes or 9 tunes. It's like, it's expensive, and it's rare that someone makes their money back on a vocal album. So
That's good advice too. I agree with that. Yeah, when people come out with like 18 songs, it's like it's just too much. you know?
Yeah, it's and also you wear people out. People
Yeah.
don't have the attention, since MTV came along in the 70s or 80s, I don't even know, but it's like people's attention span is now like 2 seconds long, and so because everything jumps around, and we have so much information coming at us, so nobody has the attention to listen to something that's too long. 50 minutes, don't make it any longer. It's not, you don't have to do that.
Yeah. Well, Judy Wexler, I'm going to type the name of Mouthpiece Music, Mouthpiece, with which Judy and her husband Alan Wexler own and operate, and it's a wonderful organization. They do a great job at sharing the getting jazz reviews, and also she knows people. If you want to go into promoting to jazz radio, she knows a lot of people in that field as well that she can recommend.
Yeah, and it's mouthpiecemusic.com. So if anyone's interested, please do check out our website, because as I said, we've worked with amazing artists, and I have a lot of fun working with people. So it's a good fit for me.
Hey, sorry, I tried to put that. I'm going to have to re-put that, because what happened was it hi Tim Weston. So I actually they put a space between Mouthpiece Music and music. So let me try that again. www.mouthpiecemusic.com. Ah, yes, that's better. And I will try and delete this other one, maybe. Or maybe not. I don't know. Sometimes I I don't know if I told you this, Judy, but Judy came on before and she said, the Facebook connection there's something wrong with it. And sure enough, I looked at my mail, and at 7:45 a.m., somebody was messing around with my Facebook. So 7:45 a.m. So somebody was messing around.
Well, your account wasn't. I couldn't find it.
Yeah. So I was hacked. Anyway, we got back on, and and so this has been really fun to hang out with you, and
it's always fun to hang with you, Cathy. And Cathy and I were roommates for 5 nights in New York last year. We'll do it again. We had the best time, and I love you, and thank you for having me.
I love you too. And tomorrow I'm going to have, I don't know if you know Josie Falbo. Do you know that name?
I do not.
She's from Chicago, and she's had a very long career of studio singing, but also she's a really rich, kind of like very solid jazz singer. And so she's going to be on tomorrow. I'm looking forward to speaking with her. And next week, just as interest, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Gordon Goodwin, Ed Neumeister, and Evie Ladden and Keith Terry, who are not jazz people, but they are amazing. They're a husband and wife team, and he does body percussion that he's done for years. He's also a bass player and a singer, and she is a super accomplished banjo player, singer, and clogger.
Oh, wow.
They're quite powerful. And then today, of course, I'm inviting you guys, and I've posted it here at 6:00. Tamir Hendelman and I are going to do a live stream, and we're paying tribute to Rodgers and Hart. So all of that, and everybody take good care of yourself. See you tomorrow, hopefully. Judy Wexler, thank you. It was really lovely. And I love you. And we'll talk soon. And goodbye, everybody.
Bye. Thanks for everyone who ever tuned in.